But look, a question that many Newcastle fans will be asking is what effect Eddie Howe's departure will have, of course, on Bruno Guimaraes' future. For more on that, our reporter Dama Sheth has joined us. I mean, more likely that he'll go now, do you think?
I still think it's going to come down to price.
Okay.
I don't think that will have changed, but I think Keith touched on it there. The last 2 summers for Eddie Howe really will have taken their toll. Hugo Ekitike thought it was done and dusted. He ends up going to Liverpool. The Alexander Isak saga as well. And then you fast forward to this summer. Anthony Gordon's gone. Sandro Tonali is gone. They were in for Victor Munoz. He ends up going to Liverpool. Yaman Zambi, they thought that was going to get done. He ends up going to Aston Villa. And now the story that just won't go away, that's been going on before the World Cup and has continued, their captain, Bruno Guimaraes. Now, there are lots of reports suggesting that maybe there has been club-to-club contact between Arsenal and Newcastle United. Sources close to Newcastle United, and this has come from Keith as well, suggest that there hasn't been club-to-club contact and that Newcastle are quite surprised and baffled, really, why Arsenal haven't formally come to the table with a bid. Behind the scenes, there's plenty going on. Arsenal have been exploring the conditions of a deal via intermediaries to see how much it would cost to get Bruno Guimaraes to come. Now, people might start making comparisons between Guimaraes and Isak from last summer. I think there's a big difference in that. I don't think Guimaraes is going to withdraw from training or refuse to play, rather like Alexander Isak did last summer. He has got a lot of respect for Newcastle United. He wants to go to Arsenal and is open to going to Arsenal, provided Newcastle United get the fee that Newcastle United want. He's not going to agitate for anything unless it gets agreed between the two clubs. That's the situation at the moment. So with regard to Bruno Guimaraes, it is ongoing. They're flying, I think, to La Manga on Friday. As it stands, he's expected to go with the squad to La Manga, but things can change in football, and it's just going to depend on what Arsenal do next, whether they're actually going to go and formally bid for Bruno Guimaraes via the official channels, or whether this behind the scenes scenario is going to continue. But I mean, when we spoke to Eddie Howe last night in his last interview, really, as the Newcastle United head coach, he was asked about Bruno Guimaraes, and it's interesting what he said: we can't control the forces at play. So there's clearly something going on in the background. I think this one is just going to carry on for a little while, unfortunately, for Newcastle.
OK, let's turn our attention to Manchester City then. Real Madrid have formalised their interest in Rodri. Is it a cheeky interest, do you think? I mean, what's going on there? I
mean, this has been bubbling along for a while. Once it approached the final year of his deal and he hadn't signed a new contract, the talk of Real Madrid really has not gone away at all. We understand that there has been initial contact between Real Madrid and Manchester City over Rodri, and there's an expectation that Real Madrid will make an offer. They value Rodri, because he's got a year left of his contract, at between 43 million to 51 million pounds. So that's the Real Madrid side.
Yeah.
Manchester City, make no mistake about it, they do not want to sell Rodri. Quite the opposite. They want to tie Rodri down to a brand new contract at Manchester City. Enzo Maresca sees him as a key part of his squad, of his team moving forward. Interestingly, Florentino Perez, when he was re-elected as the Real Madrid president, there was a little bit of criticism directed towards him because there was no representation from Real Madrid in the Spain squad. You remember when the Spain squad was named. That changed during the tournament because Marc Cucurella actually moved from Chelsea to Real Madrid. So it seems that everyone at Real Madrid, from board level to the certain new manager in Jose Mourinho, is behind trying to get Rodri from Manchester City. Interestingly, in March, when Rodri did an interview, and he was specifically asked about Real Madrid, he said, look, it's up to the club because we still need to sit down and talk. But significantly, he said, given he's played for Atletico Madrid before, and I think it was phrased in a way, can a player who's played for Atletico Madrid end up playing for Real Madrid, the big city rivals? He said, you cannot turn down the best clubs in the world.
OK, just finally and briefly, because I'm getting told to say briefly in my ear. John Stones spotted in Milan today, so it's going to be an
more than spotted. He's arrived there. He's been having a medical today, and the news coming out of Sky in Italy is that everything is agreed now, and that John Stones has signed on for Inter Milan in a 2-year deal. I guess we're just waiting for a formal announcement from Inter Milan on that. These are pictures from Sky Italy from earlier on today, and they managed to grab a word with John Stones when he arrived at the airport earlier on, and this is what he had to say.
How are you?
Welcome. Thank you.
Happy.
How come you're in Italy?
Here, you got the shoulder going. Appreciate you guys. I'm sure I'll see you all soon. I'm excited to be here, so enjoy.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
So much.
Bye.
Ciao.
First, though, our top story this hour: could Manchester City's World Cup winning midfielder Rodri be on his way to Real Madrid? Well, we can find out with Dharmesh Sheth. Dharmesh, welcome back. Could be an incredible deal, couldn't it? Where are we?
Yeah, I mean, this one has been bubbling along ever since Rodri started to enter, or was about to enter the final year of his Manchester City contract without signing a new deal at Manchester City. Real Madrid have always been in the background. They're long-term admirers of Rodri. It is our understanding that there has been initial contact between Real Madrid and Manchester City over a potential deal, and now we are expecting Real Madrid to formalise that contact in the form of an official offer. We think they are prepared to pay in the region of 43 to 51 million pounds. So that's the Real Madrid side of it. As far as Manchester City are concerned, no, we do not want Rodri to leave the Etihad. We want him to stay. Not only do we want him to stay, we want him to stay long term, and we want to sign him down to a new contract. Now, that's easier said than done, because any attempts so far clearly not resulted in Rodri signing that new contract. He has just had minor back surgery, which by all accounts was very successful. He will miss the Community Shield and then probably the opening Premier League game of the season as well. I am guessing that both clubs will want some sort of clarity one way or another sooner rather than later, because if, and it's a big if still, Rodri was to leave, then Manchester City would need enough time to bring in someone who's going to have to replace a Rodri-shaped hole in that Manchester City midfield. Interestingly, just before the World Cup started and the Spain squad was announced, famously there was no Real Madrid player in that Spanish squad. Yes, that changed when Marc Cucurella actually transferred from Chelsea to Real Madrid, so they had a Real Madrid player officially in the Spanish squad. But it is thought that when Florentino Perez went for re-election, one of the criticisms pointed towards him was the lack of Spanish representation there was from the Real Madrid team. Now, it appears that everyone is on board, be it the board, be it the new manager, certain Jose Mourinho, about trying to get this deal over the line. So it's the early stages at the moment, but make no mistake about it, Real Madrid want the player and they're prepared to pay around 43 to 51 million pounds, and we're expecting an official offer soon.
Let's move on to Bruno Guimaraes, this man here now who's expected to return to Newcastle at the end of the week. But of course, as we've been saying today, Eddie Howe not there anymore. Where does a potential move to Arsenal now leave Guimares?
I mean, just on Eddie Howe, I'm sure the last 2 summers would have taken their toll on Eddie Howe and may have contributed to the decision that he ended up making today. Because if you remember what happened last summer, Alexander Isak saga, they thought they'd signed Hugo Ekitike as well, only for him to go to Liverpool. They thought they were well down the line with Benjamin Sesko as well, only for him to go to Manchester United. And then, of course, this summer, Sandro Tonali has left for Tottenham Hotspur for £100 million. They've also sold Anthony Gordon to Barcelona for £70 million. Add to that, they've tried to sign the likes of Victor Munoz. He's ended up going to Liverpool. So they've missed out on a couple of signings again. And now you've got the situation with their captain, Bruno Guimaraes. Now, there are lots of reports around where this deal is at. Some have said there's been club-to-club contact. As far as we're aware, there's been no club-to-club contact as yet between Arsenal and Newcastle United. And added to that, it's got to the point where, look, it's come as a bit of a surprise to Newcastle United, we think, that Arsenal haven't actually shown their hand officially by making an official bid. Behind the scenes, there is plenty going on, because we have been reporting Arsenal via intermediaries have explored the conditions of a potential deal for Bruno Guimaraes. So that's the situation we're at the moment. As far as Arsenal are concerned, they are definitely very interested. Let's see if they end up making that official bid to Newcastle United for their captain. He's still on an extended break. He's expected, as you mentioned, to come back later on this week. Let's see how this one transpires. But Eddie Howe, of course, who's not the Newcastle United manager anymore, his final game was that game against Bristol City last night, that 4-1 defeat. He was interviewed after that game. He was asked about Bruno Guimaraes, and this is what he had to say.
I think we want to keep all of our best players. I mean, they're so valuable, and as I said numerous times, there's not many of them, and to get them is so difficult, and to develop them. So when you have them, you want to keep them, and Bruno's very much in that category. He's an outstanding player. On a night like tonight, of course, he'd have helped us. We've spoken numerous times. Assurances, I don't think you can push too hard for those. I think I've said many times, you want players that are committed. Bruno's always been committed here. His training performances, his game performance has been outstanding. Every time he's worn the shirt, he's played with the fans by his side. I'd love to see that continue.
Doms, another big talking point this summer has been the future of Vinicius Jr. Arsenal were linked. Is he staying? Is he going?
I mean, it says staying there at the moment. The information that we've been given at Sky Sports News is that Real Madrid are confident that Vinicius Jr will be staying, and they are confident that he is going to sign a new contract to keep him at the Bernabeu beyond this summer. However, as far as Arsenal are concerned, I don't think anything has fundamentally changed, because the facts of the matter are, as we speak right now, Vinicius Jr has entered the final year of his contract and he hasn't signed a new contract as yet. Real Madrid, for their part, will not want to see him leave for free. They know that within 6 months, he can speak to clubs outside Spain and sign a pre-contract agreement. In a year from now, he could leave for any club in the world for no money at all. While this situation is as it is, even though Real Madrid will display confidence that Vinicius Jr will stay, Arsenal will be wise just to keep an eye on that situation, because as long as he's got a year left of his contract and he hasn't signed that new deal, Arsenal will be in the picture.
Darmish, thank you very much indeed. Keith Downey, who is at St James's Park for us. Keith, good to see you again. So was he pushed, or was this his choosing to go?
Look, I think this was an Eddie Howe decision. I think for a number of different reasons. I think one, he needs a rest. As you rightly say, he'd been in charge for nearly 5 years. He was the second longest serving manager in the Premier League, only behind Mikel Arteta. There, of course, has been a lot of change at the football club already, which you alluded to there, with the loss of big name players like Sandro Tonali and Anthony Gordon, and potentially Bruno Guimaraes as well, with Arsenal circling. And I think as much as he was on board with the change of model, and he publicly said that, even on Saturday after the pre-season friendly, he said he's on board with the new signings. I think generally the fact that Newcastle are losing experienced professionals and are bringing in younger, untested players probably played a part in his decision as well. Remember also, Eddie Howe was ill last year, around about a year and a half ago. He was hospitalised with pneumonia, and although he pretty much has recovered from that, he was straight back on the treadmill, and there's no time to rest as a Premier League manager. Even on their holidays, they're all preparing for the new season. So I think for a number of those reasons, Eddie Howe feels it's time for a change and to allow a new man to take over. I'm told that decision was made at least 2 weeks ago, maybe even as long as 3 weeks ago, and the club have been working diligently behind the scenes to try and bring in his replacement. Eddie Howe did not want to leave a rudderless ship after everything he's given this club over those near 5 years. But he did his last interview, conducted that last interview last night following a really disappointing 4-1 defeat to Bristol City in a pre-season friendly. That was not the reason for the decision. This, as I say, had been in the pipeline for 2 weeks. But this is what Eddie Howe had to say last night in what will go down as his last ever interview as Newcastle United manager.
Generally speaking, how sort of optimistic are you about the pre-season and the upcoming campaign? Because obviously it's been a lot of upheaval.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of change at the football club and potentially more to come. So I think there's always reason to be optimistic, and that's very much my default setting. I believe that great things are possible every season. I think always go in with a real buzz of what's ahead. I see no reason to be any different this year.
Yeah, on a personal basis, you're sort of relishing the fight, I suppose.
Every day that I'm Newcastle manager is a great day for me. I think absolutely love the football club, and that will never change.
Interesting comments there from Howe. But what's the mood like on Tyneside today, Keith?
Yeah, it's a strange time, I have to say. There still is a sombre mood around this football club. It's been just 10 days since legendary manager Kevin Keegan passed, and all the tributes are still here at St James's Park. And I spoke to a few of the supporters down there. I have to say it's fairly mixed, and I've been sensing that for a while now. There has been an element of the fan base who are Eddie Howe. It is time for a change, and he's done everything he can do with the football club, and it was time for a new face. But there's also fans who are really disappointed. They grew to love Eddie Howe. He reconnected this city, this fan base, this football club, and he, like Kevin Keegan, will go down as a legendary manager, as you rightly said at the start, bringing back the first domestic silverware in 7 long decades, 2 Champions League qualifications, and really, a team that was heading for relegation, transforming it really quickly and bringing in some world-class talent. Of course, some of that world-class talent has left, and it feels like a changing of the guard now. So the fans I spoke to earlier, it felt like a mixed mood. Some feeling it was the right time. Probably it should have happened 6 weeks ago at the end of the season. But Eddie Howe did say, "Look, I'm all in. I'm ready for the new campaign." And then just I think with things that have happened, certain players leaving, not much in the way of experience being brought in. I think Eddie, combined with that and the fact that he's probably feeling quite tired after 5 long years, has felt that it's time to go. So look, not ideal timing, leaving the club just 3 weeks before the start of the new season.